A brand new $2,000 stimulus proposal is now on the table, targeted directly at low-income Americans, asterisk, and it's being linked to the return of Donald Trump's economic agenda. As food prices spike by 16.8%, utility bills break records, and millions of households are falling behind, lawmakers are being forced to confront a deepening affordability crisis. This proposal couldn't come at a more critical time. In the past 12 months, everyday essentials like groceries, electricity, and rent have become unaffordable for many. Struggling seniors, disabled Americans, single parents, and working-class families are now asking, where's the help? In response, Trump-aligned legislators are backing a new $2,000 direct relief payment for qualifying Americans, with growing pressure to make it monthly, similar to Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib's previous plan that offered recurring checks during the pandemic. Could these two ideologically opposite forces actually agree on one thing: putting cash directly into the hands of people who need it most? The big questions now are, who qualifies for the $2,000 stimulus? Is this a one-time payment, or the start of something bigger? And will this plan gain traction before the next election cycle kicks into high gear? For millions, this isn't about politics, it's about survival. Whether you're living on Social Security, disability, SNAP, or just scraping by on minimum wage, this could be the most important financial update of the year. Stay right here, because in the next few minutes, we're diving into everything you need to know: who's backing the plan, how it compares to Rashida Tlaib's monthly payments, what the odds of passage look like, and how fast relief could arrive. Breaking news just dropped that a new stimulus proposal is gaining serious traction, and it's targeting Americans who are getting crushed by these insane price increases. We're talking about a direct payment of $2,000, and some are pushing to make this a monthly reality. But here's the kicker: this isn't just another political pipe dream. This proposal has some serious weight behind it, and you won't believe who's supporting it. Let me paint you a picture of what's really happening in America right now. Food prices have shot up by a staggering 16.8%, the highest increase we've seen in decades. People are literally choosing between keeping their lights on and putting food on the table. I've been reading hundreds of comments from viewers just like you, sharing stories about having to skip meals or turn off their heat in the middle of winter just to make ends meet. Now, here's where things get interesting. This new stimulus proposal isn't coming from where you might expect. While former President Trump's name is attached to this, there's a whole lot more to this story than what the mainstream media is telling you. And trust me, you're going to want to hear every detail because it could directly impact your bank account. Let's break down exactly what's happening with these soaring prices that are crushing American families. When you walk into your local grocery store today, you're paying almost $7 for a gallon of milk in some areas. A basic pack of chicken breasts, that'll set you back nearly $15 in many places. And don't even get me started on the cost of fresh vegetables. These aren't luxury items, we're talking about basic necessities that every family needs. But it's not just food that's breaking the bank. Utility companies across the country are hitting Americans with record-high bills. I'm talking about increases of 30%, 40%, sometimes even 50% compared to last year. People are opening their electric bills and literally breaking down in tears. One viewer recently told me their monthly utility bill jumped from $200 to over $400, and they haven't changed a single thing about their usage. This is exactly why this new stimulus proposal is generating so much buzz. The plan would provide $2,000 to Americans who fall below certain income thresholds. But here's where it gets really interesting: Representative Rashida Tlaib has been pushing for these payments to be monthly, not just a one-time deal. And when you look at the numbers, you can see why this could be a game-changer for millions of families. Think about it: a monthly $2,000 payment could cover the average American family's entire grocery bill and utilities, with some left over for other essentials. This isn't about helping people buy luxury items or encouraging them not to work, it's about ensuring that hardworking Americans can afford the basic necessities of life in the face of these unprecedented price increases. Now, I know what some of you are thinking: won't this just make inflation worse? That's a fair question, and it's one that economists have been debating heavily. But here's what the data shows: the previous stimulus payments actually helped prevent a massive economic collapse during the height of the pandemic. They kept millions of Americans out of poverty and helped small businesses stay afloat. Let me share some real stories from real Americans who are struggling right now. Sarah, a single mother of two from Ohio, wrote to me last week. She works full-time as a nurse but still can't keep up with the rising costs. Her monthly grocery bill has increased by $300, and her utility bills are up nearly $150. That's $450 more per month just for the basics, and her salary hasn't increased to match these rising costs. Then there's James, a retired veteran from Florida. His fixed income hasn't changed, but his cost of living has skyrocketed. He's had to start skipping meals to afford his medications. These are the real faces of America's cost of living crisis. And they're the reason why this stimulus proposal is gaining so much support across political lines. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. The support for this proposal isn't just coming from the usual suspects. We're seeing unlikely alliances forming, with both progressive Democrats and some conservative Republicans acknowledging that something needs to be done to help struggling Americans. When you have politicians who usually disagree on everything finding common ground, you know the situation is serious. Let's talk about the numbers for a moment, because they're pretty shocking. The average American household is spending about $460 more per month on basic necessities compared to last year. That's over $5,500 per year just in increased costs. For families living paycheck to paycheck, which is about 64% of Americans, these increases are absolutely devastating. The proposed stimulus check would help offset these increased costs, but there's a heated debate about whether it should be a one-time payment or monthly. Like in Tlaib's plan, the argument for monthly payments is pretty straightforward. These price increases aren't a one-time thing. They're ongoing, and they're showing no signs of slowing down. A one-time payment might provide temporary relief, but it doesn't address the long-term problem. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. How would this be paid for? The proposals include various funding mechanisms, from closing corporate tax loopholes to implementing new taxes on the ultra-wealthy. But here's what's important to understand: the cost of not acting could be even higher. When millions of Americans can't afford basic necessities, it affects the entire economy. Businesses suffer, jobs are lost, and the economic downturn can become a vicious cycle. I've been digging into the details of how this would actually work, and here's what you need to know. The current proposal would target Americans making less than $75,000 per year, or couples making less than $150,000. The payments would be gradually reduced for those making more than these amounts. This means the help would go to those who need it most, the families who are really feeling the squeeze from these price increases. But here's something crucial that isn't being widely reported: the proposal includes provisions for expedited payments. This means that if it passes, eligible Americans could receive their payments within weeks, not months. For families who are struggling to put food on the table right now, this could be a literal lifesaver. The impact of these rising prices goes beyond just the financial strain. I've been hearing from viewers about the emotional and psychological toll this is taking. Parents are staying up at night worried about how they'll feed their kids. Seniors are having to choose between buying food and buying medicine. These are choices that no one in America should have to make. Let's talk about the broader economic impact for a moment. When families can't afford basic necessities, it affects everything. Local businesses see fewer customers. People put off medical care, leading to bigger health problems down the line. Children's education suffers when they're hungry or their homes are too cold. These effects ripple through the entire economy and can take years to recover from. The proposed stimulus checks could help prevent this downward spiral. When people have money to spend on necessities, it circulates through the economy. Local businesses see more customers, jobs are preserved, and communities stay stable. This is why many economists argue that targeted stimulus payments aren't just about helping individuals, they're about protecting the entire economic ecosystem. Now, here's something really important that you need to know: this proposal isn't just sitting on someone's desk collecting dust. There's real momentum building behind it. More and more legislators are hearing from their constituents about the crushing impact of these price increases, and they're feeling the pressure to act. But here's the thing: your voice matters in this. The more people speak up about their experiences and the need for help, the more likely it is that this proposal will move forward. I'm seeing more and more comments from viewers sharing their stories, and these stories are making their way to decision makers. Let me share another story that really brings this home. Mark and Lisa, a couple from Michigan, both work full-time jobs but are still struggling to keep up with rising costs. Their combined income is about $65,000 per year, which used to be enough to live comfortably. Now, they're having to use credit cards just to buy groceries and pay utilities. A monthly stimulus payment would allow them to catch up on bills and stop accumulating debt just to afford the basics. The debate about monthly payments versus a one-time payment is particularly interesting. Rashida Tlaib's plan for monthly payments is based on the recognition that these economic pressures aren't going away anytime soon. Food prices are predicted to continue rising through the year, and utility companies are already warning about future rate increases. Here's something that might surprise you. Studies of previous stimulus payments showed that most people used the money for exactly what it was intended for, basic necessities. Despite fears that people would waste the money, the vast majority used it for food, utilities, rent, and other essential expenses. This data is being used to support the argument for new payments. But there's more to this story than just the numbers. This is about the kind of society we want to be. Should people working full-time jobs have to skip meals to pay their electric bills? Should seniors have to choose between food and medicine? These are the real questions at the heart of this debate. The timing of this proposal is crucial. With food prices up 16.8% and utility costs soaring, many families are reaching their breaking point. The winter months are particularly challenging, with heating costs adding hundreds of dollars to already strained budgets. This is why there's a push to get this done quickly. Now, let's talk about what you can do while this proposal works its way through the system. First, stay informed. Follow the developments closely because things are moving quickly. Second, make your voice heard. Contact your representatives and share your story. Third, connect with others in your community who are facing similar challenges. There's power in numbers, and collective voices are more likely to be heard. The support for this proposal crosses traditional political lines because the need is so clear and urgent. When you have both progressive Democrats and Trump supporters agreeing that something needs to be done, it shows how serious the situation has become. Remember Sarah, the nurse I mentioned earlier? She recently told me that a monthly stimulus payment would mean she wouldn't have to pick up extra shifts that keep her away from her kids. It would mean she could afford healthy food instead of just the cheapest options. These are the real-world impacts we're talking about. As we wrap up this discussion, I want to emphasize a few key points. First, this proposal is real and gaining momentum. Second, the need for assistance is clear and documented. These price increases are affecting millions of Americans. Third, your voice matters in this debate. I'll be keeping a close eye on this situation and bringing you updates as they happen. The next few weeks could be crucial in determining whether this proposal moves forward and in what form. Whether it ends up being a one-time payment or monthly assistance like Tlaib's plan, it's clear that something needs to be done to help Americans dealing with these unprecedented price increases. Before you go, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates on this developing story. Your financial future could depend on staying informed about these developments. Drop a comment below sharing your thoughts on whether these payments should be monthly or one-time, and how rising prices are affecting you and your family. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video with more updates on this breaking story. Stay safe, stay informed, and keep fighting for what you need to take care of your family.